The American Basketball Association is the largest pro league in the world. Some great opportunities for team ownership are available, and the cost may surprise you. If you've ever thought about team ownership in a pro league, give us the opportunity to help make it a reality. Reach out to us for more info. For USA teams at www.abaliveaction.com. In Australia, go to www.abaleagueaustralia.com. So greetings and salutations, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Cut and Mix. I am Vanessa Hundley, aka DJ Audioprism, and today I have the honor of being joined by no less than the head of e360tv himself, Aaron Heimes. So Aaron, you're the owner and operator and I guess man of all trades when it comes to this general endeavor of yours, which is e360tv. It is a streaming and live streaming television platform that aims to raise the profile of independent creators and storytellers, which is an excellent endeavor, especially in the new times, because we've seen such an increase in the production of creative content, and all of us trying to reach out and be, human to human as much as we can, and in our current COVID era. We at No Strings Attached E-News, we've been working with you guys for a little bit now, and we have watched you just organically grow your platform leaps and bounds in a very short time for a streaming platform. One of your latest interviews was with the global travel podcast Humanities, and you discussed a lot of the early days and the business development and the new developments that are coming on. So anybody that's watching this now, if you scoot on over to YouTube or your favorite podcast platform, you can find Humanities there, and you can get more of, what we would call, as creative types would call, the left brain businessy side of things, which is very valuable stuff. It definitely warrants watching. But now I get Aaron all to myself. So of course, Aaron, welcome to the show. Let me shut up for a second and let you squeeze something in.
Hi.
And that's all it takes. Exactly.
That's all it
So doing some research, obviously, and listening to your interviews, your major background, we'll say your professional background, most recently is in project management, and you lovingly call that your day job. Okay. So tell us a little bit about your history and project management and how that has helped you with the development of this as a project.
Well, so most of what I do now, it's evolved on different projects of what I work on and stuff. But mostly my niche now for that world is new product development. So basically taking something from the garage and then taking it out to the marketplace. So that includes everything from manufacturing to the packaging to, marketing design, strategies, execution of strategies, trying to get it into stores, all these different things and stuff like that. So there's a lot of pieces of it. So it's a lot of, and it's like much of what project management is it's just making sure all the certain pieces go at certain time, but it's not necessarily you're doing a lot of the work, I mean, I'm not manufacturing, of course.
Yeah.
Manufacturing's over in China or wherever. And so it's just a matter of, putting all the pieces in place and stuff. But that's kind of the way my brain works, knowing that, okay, end result needs to be here. And then it's like a stack of Post-it notes that's in reverse then from there. Like what this has to go, then this has to go, this has to go, this has to go. And people that have lost me, see me ever lose my patience about stuff or whatever, it's because I know that this is the next thing that needs to happen. It has to happen, and if it's not going to happen, then we can't move on. So that's just kind of the way my brain works, and I kind of like it because it's a way of organization that puts your mind at ease, because you're like, okay, I can visualize this and how it's going to go. And then if certain things are out of control and you just must move things along, well, then it's you've done as much as you possibly can at that particular time. If that makes sense.
Oh, yes. When I hear about what a project manager does, it kind of reminds me a lot of what a producer does for a movie set. Because people are like, why do you have to have a producer? I'm like, well, the producer is sort of your umbrella person for logistics, and which is like a lot of what you were talking about as a project manager. You're not going to manufacture it, but you're going to figure out the logistics to get it there, to set it up, to use it, to
It's exactly the same type of it's exactly the same type of role. It's it's perfect analogy. Good job.
Yeah. I'm about to say, and I'll help the creative types to get it a little bit better. So with all of that background and very business, let's say, was being a project manager something you evolved into, or was that always kind of the focus of your day job?
No, it kind of evolved into that because if you per product, bringing a new product out or a new company or anything like that, you had to have done a lot of those things.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to have technical knowledge up to a certain degree. You need to have marketing knowledge up to a certain degree. You need to know you're the specialist in that area, but it's important that you're able to look over people's shoulders and know if they're screwing up or if they're doing the right thing. And you just, because you have to be able to control things, you're in charge of budgets and timelines and these things. So it's definitely something that is not, I have an MBA in it too, so that helps a little bit. But the thing is more so it's just a lot of life experiences kind of evolve into that kind of that type of position. That's the way it happened for me. Maybe not everyone else, but that's it for me.
Well, it seems like you start with pieces, and then entrepreneurship is something that's very, very important in your sphere. And it's something that you talked about very extensively in Humanities, about how, as an entrepreneur, you're always used to working and rolling with the punches, but you also talked about how much you have to learn. And that is, as an entrepreneur, I mean, unless you can afford to outsource everything, you do spend a lot of time learning, whether it's on the production side, the marketing side, the creation side, the networking side. There's always multiple levels to learn when you're looking at that. So when you're looking at developing something like E360 TV, you're obviously taking a lot of that real life world, or that real life knowledge, and applying it to the development of something that you really didn't have much knowledge about going into. And you've said that before. You're like, okay, well, I want to do TV. Well, how do I do TV? What's the best way to set it up? How do I find my programming, my sponsors, the angel investors, and all of that, which are those tiny little things. What was your inspiration for focusing on TV? Was it something that you just really love TV? Are you a creator yourself? Or is it just something that you have friends or creators and you saw a market for it? Like, what had you say, I'm going to step into this very volatile field where there's a lot of competition and I'm going to try to make this happen?
I don't want to make it sound too romantic here, because it really wasn't. It wasn't like a I don't want to say it's not a love thing, because it has to be, because I mean it takes forever, to get it going. It just takes much longer. It costs a lot more, and nothing goes to plan. So
yeah.
So I really don't know if I have like a solid reason, like of why I did it. I liked it, and it was it's like the end of one phase of my life as an entrepreneur. I think what was I doing before that? I can't remember what I was doing. I was working on, but that was done, and I was looking for something new and something different. And I think the thing is about being like a true entrepreneur and stuff, and then once you've had some successes and you've had some flops, but then you really get to that confidence level of like, bring it on. I mean, as long as you enjoy it and it's not a job, if you will, it's something that you really can enjoy, And I mean, I just think it's kind of cool. Sometimes I'm sitting there watching our programming and stuff. I'm like, hey, I'm kind of like the man behind the curtain. You know what I mean? Like, I got all these cool levers and stuff like that and stuff. And it's really not. It's more like push of a button, but it's still kind of fun. It's kind of neat, and I just enjoy it. So, I mean,
now your
I'm
big
sorry.
focus.
I don't have like that churning of life thing that happened. Like the clouds parted and there was a gigantuous television set. And so I was like, oh, okay, God, you want me to be working in media? Okay. Didn't happen like that at all.
Well, but it's sometimes it's a gradual awakening versus just a huge, in your face realization. And so I can appreciate that. Do you have any creative endeavors that you do on your own?
Well, I newly built a new workshop in my backyard now.
Yes.
Because I've always wanted that my entire life. Because of the weekends and stuff like that, I don't know how creative is, but I do a lot of just projects around my house and stuff like that. So last weekend I built a headboard and this whole TV kind of thing, whatever. It's all reclaimed wood and stuff, and it really looks I think, totally dope. And my next endeavor I've decided is I'm going to make some birdhouses, but I'm going to make them all based on themes of albums that I really like,
Yeah.
Like I have one like, License to Ill from Beastie Boys. I don't know what that birdhouse will look like, but I think it'd be kind of cool.
Oh, but you could have a lot of, red Solo cups hanging off of it.
But I love doing stuff with my hands and then the gardening. I love gardening. I love doing stuff with we have a ton of plants around our house and stuff. And I love doing that just because it's a complete polar opposite of what I do during the day, which is usually always in front of a computer and, always under the gun for stuff and always late for everything. You know what I mean? Like everything's rush. You go out to a garden or you go into a shop and you start meddling around with stuff. It's real. It's in the moment. It's with your hands. It's just totally opposite, which is great. I love it. So that's
it's almost like an instant return on your time too, especially when you're building things, because at the end of it, you can sit there and see this beautiful thing. And that actually brings up a really interesting viewpoint, because a lot of us that are used to being what I call brick and mortar creative people, say like me, I'm a DJ. Most of my business for X number of years has been events, which is being on site and handling the event and everything that goes into it.
Right.
So you have a lot of people now that are looking at the online sphere and the streaming sphere. And it can feel a little discombobulating because you're constantly putting effort out, but you don't always see like an immediate return. Yeah, like you'll put an episode of something out and maybe you'll just be, oddly enough, maybe it might take a year for it to, grab some kind of traction or get some kind of notice. Your focus, and you've described it very much as kind of like a niche thing, is that you're very supportive of those independent creators and storytellers. So what made you decide to go in that particular direction? Was it something where you saw the content coming in and felt like that was the direction to go, or is it was something that you cognizantly decided, to do?
Yeah, no, it kind of evolved over that for the first, I would say, year of E360 TV. It was kind of like we were trying to figure out who we were, but then it always boiled down to the same thing. But it wasn't so much so the vision of what it was made clear, but that was the path that we were already on. It was because once you start the content curation process, right? I got to get content. So then you start going out there and you're looking for content, and you're contacting people straight up. Hey, you got this cool content or whatever. What do you think of me coming over, bringing it over on our platform? And so you just have but the thing is when you're looking for it and then you start seeing all this content and you're like, this is like amazing stuff. Why did I never know about this before? How is this possible? But that's when you figure out of how this media circus works, is that it's just piles. Everything just gets buried so quickly unless it's supported by a bunch of money, you know? So the thing is that I didn't think that was fair. I don't think it's very fair.
Yeah.
I mean, all other industries in the world are flat. If you're in this country and you're good at this particular job, then boom, you can get a job doing that, and you can get paid and all those things like that. Media is the one thing where it's still, I mean, it's just a non-flat. It's very much a hierarchy, and it's all based upon money. Now, that is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Can't change that, right? But what we can do is we can chip at it, and we can hope that other people are looking for that same thing. They're looking for real content. They're looking for something beyond mainstream. And I know that there's people out there that do enjoy that. And so, as we went through that process of figuring out who we were, that was where it was like, okay, you know what we're going to do? We're going to try to do this for free or nominal costs.
Mm-hmm.
And independent creators, we're going to give them a bigger stage. And that's what we're going to do. And we're going to give and give and give and give and give. And hopefully at some point it's going to turn around and come back,
Right.
And that's finally kind of happening. So that's good.
Yes. Yeah. Watching positive growth is always an excellent feeling for sure. So you started out just reaching out and curating that content. What were some of the first shows or the first types of shows that you brought on?
The skateboard guys, so True Skateboard Mag.
Mm-hmm.
Love those guys, man. Those guys are just amazing human beings. So we brought on a lot of their content. We did. We used to have like cannabis content for a little bit. We brought up some of that, but since then we got rid of it. It was unfortunate, but just the way of the world, we can't do that stuff. But and then healthy cooking. We had like we get a lot of Art of Humanity, which is all a bunch of different like yoga and things like a healthy lifestyle. And then we started getting more and more into the entertainment stuff. So that's where like NSAEN came into play with with B, and then we just started got in some like documentaries. I mean, it's just kind of you put out like a ton of energy in that content curation process. You're reaching out to people and stuff, and then you just got to see who circulates back. And it's very time consuming, but then you just take what you can get, really, at that point. At the very beginning, you're just begging for content, and then you will have a flip, which happens where all of a sudden then you can actually start charging people to put content on. Not a lot, but just something to have a vested interest in the content.
So you had a lot of those great individual creators and kind of working ways through that health and that beauty. And you mentioned, some of the cannabis stuff later, even though that's not necessarily a direction that you're going. So right now, what kinds of content do you have people bringing to you?
Well, we've been working a lot on the live aspect.
Yeah.
That's been our huge push, because it is it works really well. It's just I mean, like as in not just on our end, it works really, really well for the creators, because live is such a hot, because we really mesh the two worlds of live but scheduled and regular, just like you did on cable television, but then at the same time making it available for binge watching. So it's like we've married the two best of those two worlds. Cable had it right when they had scheduled times.
Yes.
And stream side will never admit it, but it's true.
Yeah.
People love schedules. Thursday nights at 7 o'clock, everyone knew Seinfeld was on.
Mm-hmm.
They had it ingrained in everyone's head. And so for creators to grow their audience in that aspect, you have to be on a regular basis, because then you're building a tribe. You're building real people. And that's and that was really so that's been our big thing, and it's a lot on people that they have a message that they want to get out, that they're in for the long haul, because we just don't want this to be a COVID thing. Well, I can't meet people in person, so I'm just going to do this online now. Right. Because this is all part of a lot of, for them, it's the background of it. It's a lot of their content marketing that they're doing for their own brands, for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And this is part of that. So they have to know that it's a long process. As any content creator knows, it's a long process. And you have hits and you have misses, but you do it. You are pleasantly surprised when you have a hit, right?
Yeah.
Because it's only going to happen so many times. But so that's when and then most of that content is a lot of I want to say kind of that fresh perspectives arena. A lot of it is in health and wellness. It's also in kind of inspirational type programming. But I really exclamation point about the fresh perspectives, because it's real conversations with real people. A lot of times, most of the time, out of their living rooms, in their or our makeshift offices that we've all made around our houses.
I gotta say,
and so you really get the programming that comes out of that is just extremely real, and that when we have a lot of things that are changing right now in our world. I see this going through a little bit of a shift, and it's, I think, a positive shift. It's almost like a little bit of enlightenment that's happening, and you really have to be aware and have your ear to the ground on what's really happening with people on the personal level. Mm-hmm. Because if you just go, you definitely have to look at a mainstream media to give an overall picture. But then when you look at, okay, how is BLM affecting people in their house? How does it affect someone that's interracial? How does it affect someone that's interracial and gay? So these are all the things that you're like, well, how does that affect those people? But that's the kind of content we're putting out. This is stuff that's real. And to me, that's much more of it's a underlying part of the fabric that I think if people have a little more in tune to about those things, that it kind of reduces your anxiety about what is going on in the world. Mm-hmm. Because you're realizing that there's a lot of people with just really good common sense, and they're not freaking out. They have there's a real passion and goal behind everything they do, and what, all these things that are happening. So I think it really kind of just makes it, it's like I remember I had a neighbor years ago. I lived in an HOA, and he's like, man, this guy, he's got this tree just hanging over my side of the fence, and man, one of these days that thing's gonna come crashing down to my house. So I'm gonna go through my HOA, and I'm gonna get him to write a letter. I said, why don't you just go to his front door and knock on him and just talk to him, just hey man, your tree's about to fall on my roof, And I think the thing is, if you watch mainstream media and you're just like, oh my gosh, all this craziness. Well, guess what? If you just talk to people, it turns out that things aren't that bad, It's just a matter of, so I think in the longest way possible that I could answer that question, what I'm telling you is that our content is it's real people and real conversations, and it's about relative things that are happening now, Yes. That's what we're putting out.
And obviously, through all of this, this is where, social media has really come into play for a lot of people, and just in the terms of staying in touch with people. But We all know that social media as a platform works really well for some people and really not as well for others. Like you said, a lot of it is money, time, investment. Some of it's just the right person seeing your blog or your web TV show or whatever. And so with E360 TV, one of the things that I've loved about being on it is I don't have to, worry about not being supported by the network, because that is one thing is you can put a lot of content out on social media, but you lose control of it, almost all of it. If you read any of your social media site, terms and conditions and stuff like that, whenever people put up those things like I forbid Facebook to use my pictures. I'm like, oh, honey, you signed off on that years ago. So let's talk about what you don't have control of anymore. And I mean, I've been on social media since MySpace. Right. Wipe the dust off here.
Nice.
And, I've been on Facebook and I've been on Instagram. I've been on a lot of them. And one thing that we find is a struggle for creative producers and small businesses a lot is if you're kind of not paying for play, it doesn't matter how aggressively build your network of people. They will depress your posts so that less and less people see them. And so looking for alternatives to social media where you can keep more control of your content, where you don't have to worry about, one day you're going to log in and your whole page is gone because somebody turned in a fake copyright violation on you or something like that. So I think a lot of creators are looking outside of the social media sphere. And also we've seen just, from the rumblings above and governments and stuff that, you just wonder if you're going to spend a lot of time and money and effort building yourself up on one particular platform only to have that pretty much ripped away from you overnight. And obviously with E360 TV, you've stated many times you're in it for the long haul. You are definitely trying to grow and create. And with the live streaming, that is definitely another sphere that is a great offering for people, especially if they have a lot that they want to share in terms of people or business. You had a very large live streaming event with the space, with featuring outer space. And that was your first live long streaming event. I know you had troubleshooting to do. I know you said you had a bunch of people in the background going, we're going to make this work. And it worked wonderfully. And so I can see where you can take the platform that you have, and there's a lot of this wonderful content that you said, hey, look, I go out there and I find all this amazing content and nobody has a voice for it. Well, they can have a voice with E360 TV. Right now, you've been looking at all of your growth has been organic. And for people who are not, crazy familiar with the ideas of, social media or business media or business growth, the idea that organic growth is growth that you get without advertising.
Right.
And you have a very impressive growth for it being all organic. What is your audience reach right now?
We're 300,000 to 500,000 per month.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's great.
We've had a couple months like not stacked next to each other where we went over 1 million. But that was because that's always driven by certain content. Like if you're putting out you put out certain episodes and stuff like that, we make a big deal out of it. And then but we do also, and just to clarify, we have been building organically,
Yes.
But we do marketing.
Okay.
We do.
Right.
Because we have to, we have to do some. We always have to, PR and use it in socials. And I will say that's, I know there's a lot of, there's a lot of concerns, and there's a lot of, and rightfully there is concerns about social media and using them as your platform to put out content. And I've heard over and over and over people just getting, losing their content, not really having control over it. And I guess that's especially frustrating for a creative, because that is, that's your baby, and then just to have it ripped away from you and not to have that control. And I think that's one of the things that I've been in those positions a couple times with businesses where you literally were backed in the corner and you had no control. And it's such a frustrating feeling because you're like, what am I going to do? I can't go against this behemoth. But my point on that is kind of lost my own way there, my thought process. But the thing is, I think that what I was going to say about the social media is that recognize that they are good for marketing. But then you have your content somewhere where you have ownership of that content and you have control, so that is, we are not creators. E360tv, myself, Aggie, and there's a whole little crew, that are back in the shadows. We're not creators. And we recognize that. And we wanted to stay, and we don't want to go vertical. You know what I mean? We don't want to be the creators and then the distributors and then, and all this stuff. We don't want to do that. We want to stay right here. We want to be distributors. And that's important to recognize, because then your place in all of this stuff. And you recognize then on top of that is that, and that's where the creators should see, is that, look, they need us. And we'll say right back, yes, we need you. Yes. We have to have you. That's not what we do. The thing is, though, is that we wanted to make sure that we're not owning this content because we don't have the right to own it. We didn't make it, It shouldn't be ours. We're basically leveraging that content for eyeballs, but in that thing, that's helping each other. That's like two hands shaking each other, saying, you create something, I'll give you a really cool stage with a bunch of outlets, Yes. Okay, sounds good. Let's do that. That's good. Okay. And I won't step on your toes and you won't step on your, you know what I mean? I'm not going to use your content in the way that you don't want it to be used, and we'll help each other here. And there has to be that, but the thing is, you utilize social media because it has tools attached to it that you can drive that traffic to where you want it to be. And that's really how you have to see it and use it, and don't spend too much time on it.
Yeah, no. It will suck your soul away for sure.
It's pretty gross. Yeah.
So with COVID hanging around us, and it's going to be here for a while, especially if you're with us in the good old US of A, because, people and stuff. We've seen an explosion in content creation. What are some of the missteps that you've seen creators make over the years that you would share, whether it's with copyright issues, with editing, sound, production, just some things that stick out to you that you would want to make sure creators were considering when they're looking to bring content to a platform like yours?
I think it's really, don't piggyback on other people's stuff. We've had content come in where it was kind of a unsolicited interview type stuff or whatever, that was, you could just get the feeling that they didn't really have permission to do what they were doing, And you're like, don't do anything sneaky. Or if in your gut it feels like this is something wrong because you're basically robbing someone else's creatives, don't do that. Don't be okay. I won't say it like that.
If you can't say it on E360tv.
Smart about music.
Yes.
And then using stock images and and stuff like that. If it's owned by someone else, then you really need to go through the hoops or whatever of making sure that you license it and you have permission to use it the way you say you're going to use it, because there's different levels of licensing. You might just, for music, you can license it just for an event, but it's not necessarily for social media. So you have to make sure you're hitting the correct kind of licensing. I'd say when it comes to how it looks, it comes down to the basics. Good sound, good lighting, good camera, nice background, and then if you're doing video on demand stuff or stuff in the can, a good editor, Everyone, when you first start working with good editors and you're like, man, you charge what? And then you start really getting into the process and you're like, oh, I get why editors cost, because they will make or break something. Basically, man, they can make something that looks ugly and make it just amazing. So I think it's just really, but right now, being that the world has become a little more flat, especially working with us, be experimental. Try out something. And we all got time. Unfortunately, a lot of people, because of jobs and stuff like that, not a lot of money, as much money in circulation, but we got time, and we got phones, and we got these things that we can utilize to be creative. So, I mean, take the leap and just do something. Why not? Never know.
There's so many tools too. I mean, just for, gosh, it's amazing. I think back to our last U.S. recession, which is like 2007, 2008, 2009, and there were a lot of opportunities that we have now that weren't available even 10, 11, 12 years ago. So there's a lot of tiptoeing around and being like, oh, how do I get on TV? How do I make this happen? How do I keep growing my profile or my project or my movie or my TV show without getting lost in the shuffle? Right. Or without having to pay thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to try to make it happen. Right. So now we're, fast forward, we're at this point. I think what I've seen a shift in is there's a lot more interest in, like you said, real people with real stories. I think as a society, we got so pulled into that celebrity culture for so long. And then COVID happened. And then we had, what the regular news media, lovingly terms, a lot of missteps and how people were, it will say the elite were talking to other people and they're just going, oh, it's so sad. We have to quarantine. I'm hanging out in my mansion. It's like jail. And then you got other people sitting there going like, I'm about to get kicked out of my house. Like, I'm not feeling empathy for you right now. Right. And I've seen a lot more support for independent creators. I think there's a little bit of that turning away from, if it's not at Hollywood level, it can't be good, kind of attitude that people kind of got for a while. And you're starting to see more crossover of people that were on YouTube that are now making it to TV, and people that were in TV or films that are going back to YouTube or back to other platforms that, they're just too numerous to even begin to count. And I think that puts you in a great position with your network because you've been focusing on the real people kind of stories. So with live streaming, I know you've got, I think, a little over 30 live stream shows. What are the bulk of the formats of the current live streaming shows you have right now?
I think it's so each one is about 56 minutes in length. They always start 3 minutes after the hour. Someone asked me the other day, how did you come up with that 3 minutes of the hour? And I said, I don't know, but there was a good reason for it. But yeah, so each one is 56 minutes long. Most of that content, though, is like I said, it's mostly fresh perspective, health and wellness. It's and then like a lot of like inspirational type of thing, but I gotta get rid of that word inspirational because it just doesn't quite hit the nail on the head,
Right.
I think it's just more so just kind of opening up the cover of the book and kind of diving a little bit deeper into analysis and stuff, because this is longer form content. We're not doing, we're not doing 15-minute, 10-minute, or TikTok 2-minute. This is depth. Yeah. So it's there's quite a bit of that goes into it. So there's a little more value, I guess, that comes out of it. So that's the main type of. Is that what your question was? Did I answer it?
Oh yeah, just looking to see what you had mostly going on right now, and with the space stream, that was a live stream, and you've got a lot of your, kind of we'll say lifestyle type interviews and informational shows going on there. Where do you, with no strings attached, is one of the ways that we got involved with you is we had a film festival that we've now morphed into another project because, we love the idea of the festival. We had a lot of the film festival and we had a lot of fun doing it, but we also discovered that it's a hyper competitive market. There were thousands and thousands of film festivals, and I know there's so much passion that goes into every single one of those. But you also have to accept the fact that, if you're just like a tiny little festival in the sea of a billion other festivals, you're like, ouch. But we looked at it and said, but we still love this. We still love the movies and the TV and the content, and we still want to interact with these creators, and we want to help them. And like you said, help bring other voices forward that might not normally have, the access or the opportunity. So our new form of it is called Focus On, which is an endeavor to help bring focus to small and independent creators and help them increase not just their viewership, but also how they present themselves online. Because one thing that we discovered over a couple of years of doing it, and I'm sure you see this with some of your submissions from time to time, is that you'll have this great product. But if you go on, say, their IMDb, there might be a one-line description and no picture, or they've never had a press release or they don't have anything outside of social media that talks about or presents their project, because we know there's millions of people that aren't on social media, even though there's billions that are. There are a lot of people who just will, or you might be huge on Instagram, but your next big follower could be on Facebook. And with Focus On, as we're looking to, bring up our independent creators, and we've had some great submissions over the last few years. And we actually did a streaming film festa with you just a couple months ago, where we actually showcased some of the features from our last film festival to get people, excited about the idea of the other content that they could bring to E360 TV. So we are very much looking forward to that kind of content. So let's talk about independent filmmakers and how, they would approach E360 TV. Because obviously when you're doing a film, it's not something that you're streaming live every week. There's a lot, there can be, years of production that go into putting together a film. So when they come to approach you with a film that they would be interested in having showcased versus having a channel or a show, how do you approach that with creators?
Well, first of all, before we jump into that, we just started a new live show with Jonathan, with
Jonathan Thompson.
Jonathan Thompson with Beyond the Real.
Yes.
I don't know if you've seen that, but that kind of piggybacks on what you're kind of talking about. But he's more of on the cinematic side, of how producing, but then he's also getting into kind of the economics, like, okay, how do you get money for this stuff? Then how do you get paid for this stuff? And those kind of things. So I will reference that show as a great, I was so glad he was on board with that idea, because I threw it out at him. I said, man, people need this, young filmmakers. It's like a lost of just talk about fake news. It's just so much misinformation. And then to me, it's just so much of the theory versus reality, Okay, I learned this in school, so it should work. Not so much. But so for us, the thing is that, okay, we're not a paying distributor.
Right.
All right. So that's one thing that's very important in that. So there are companies out there that will pay you for your content. If it's good enough as to what they're looking for, because it's trending at that time. So that might be domestically or foreign market. So when I talk to someone about their film and stuff like that, I make sure I put that on the table right then. Say, because look, if you have investors that are waiting for the payday, you do not want to put it up here, because it will diminish its value. Because then when you go to that Netflix or whoever like that, they ask you, is this a primary positioning for this? And you say no, your price just dropped. So one, that's that. But for independent creators that are looking for a place they want to, get out their content, I don't think I could hit this drum any louder that yes, we're a great place for that. You know what I mean? That's our deal.
Yeah.
That's what we love. So
Now you're
yeah,
not a paying
we want your
distributor.
weird, we
Mhm.
want your different, we want your experiments, we want your stuff like that. As long as it doesn't cross a line, no nudity. I'm not dealing with that. I'm not dealing with like heavy cursing, not dealing with people boozing up or doing drugs or bullying, like being just a jerk about stuff. I'm not doing any of that.
So no prank videos.
Yeah, no, if it's entertaining and it's
Yeah.
funny, but if it's not, um, in Jackass was funny as a show,
Mhm.
but I would never put that type of content on there because I think it's just, it's belittling,
Mhm.
and I'm not down with that. So,
And people actually got hurt doing that stuff too. It's like with some of the prank channels, some of them are haha funny, but there's some that are just mean or violent, really, and it's kind of like, oh, that's dangerous. And so yeah, I can see where you'd want to stay away from that kind of extreme and in your content as well.
yeah, yeah. But so anyways, I think the thing is though is that to sum it up there is that that's who we are. We love the independent stuff. We
Now
love
you
we
oh,
love being a part of that thing. We may not. I see us almost sometimes as the early Comedy Central, right?
yay.
No, I see shows that we're doing, especially some live shows, and I'm like, I know these people aren't sticking around. You know what I mean? They have the recipe and they got the right attitude and they got the following and they're getting the viewership, and you're like, man, they're gonna be like, sorry, E360, we have to move on to ABC or whatever. But that's the
Mhm.
thing, that we'll definitely be the first ones to be like, get on that train, man, keep it going. You know what I mean? They have chosen you. So you have been chosen. But so the thing is that we want to be that stepping stone. And maybe someday E360 TV will be as big as Hulu. I don't know if that's ever going to happen.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you never.
but unless that big giant bag of money just falls from the sky. But in the meantime, we want to be supportive of those independent creators because they're doing something that I envy every day. Every watching that stuff, I'm like, man, how do these people come up with this stuff? I think it's amazing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, all right, I'll do my job and help them get out there, and no problem with that. So if you have independent content and you're interested in distribution, you should contact E360 TV. How do you do that? I went on social media. You can email me, Aaron at e360tv.com, but I'm not going to give you my cell phone. There it is.
Oh, see, sorry, ladies. Plus, um, God, that's so funny. So yes, E360 TV. Now, just for people that are wondering, while you are not a paid distributor, you do have options where you can help, either help people or you can talk to them about incorporating advertising and how they would do that so that they
Yeah.
can make money on their project while
Yeah.
working with you.
Yeah. Now we have stalled on the ads for now, because we did this starting the beginning of the story. We started doing a pivot, and it's a really long pivot because you have to get so many things in place, and it just so probably this entire year, I would guess, even in 2021, we won't have ads.
Okay.
But the thing is, though, is that we do give them a lot of materials and stuff to gain sponsorship, because we'll never get in the middle of sponsorship money. That's always between the creators and the relationship that they have with the sponsor. Because the thing is that it is what they're putting out there and creating and stuff, especially the live content. A lot of them have gotten sponsors. That wasn't the plan, but a lot of them have, because the thing is they're creating content and we're putting them across all these different platforms. So why not? If you're a brand,
Yeah.
of course you're going to piggyback on content, because it's so easy to reach people that way. Hey, I got a great message. You want to watch it? Yes, of course I do. Versus, hey, I want to sell you something. no, I don't want to talk about that.
Yeah.
People resist that. So it's a really good tool for brands to reach. So that's where it kind of comes into play, where they can get sponsors and stuff.
Mhm.
But that again, it's it's a, like I said, it's an evolutionary thing that people are gonna have to go through.
Right. Exactly. All right. So moving forward, and I know, we're all kind of just going, we don't know what's going to happen, but I know E360 TV is still growing and probably, like I said, maybe even a little bit more now since everybody's kind of like, stuck to their smart device or at home a lot for a lot of us. So what are your 2020 and if not applicable there, your 2021 tentative visions, we'll say, for E360 TV?
Our goal is to have 100 live shows by the end of the year. So that's our 2020. That's our 2020 vision on that. We want to help that grow. And then we've kind of separated things out now with individual hosts and then also events. At the same time, we want to build up our, when it comes to events on a monthly basis. It'd be nice to get to like 2 or 3 events.
And we're talking live streaming events too. That's what we want to make sure everybody realizes. These are live stream events when you say events. Right. So yeah.
Yeah. So live streamed events, and we're booked out with those until the spring of 2021, actually, still already. Because the first one went really, really well. So we got a lot of people's notices. But so this is August. So next month, September, we have the Orange County Children's Book Festival, which is going to be headlined by Kristen Bell.
Oh,
yeah. So she put out a children's book this year. And so they don't have all of the speakers for that out yet, but that's going to be a really kind of cool event because it's normally an in-person, and they're doing it all virtual now. So that should be fun. But then 2021, I want to, I'm really focused, and I'm not going to say a word about what this means or whatever, but I want to increase our footprint pretty large. So, and then there's also some technical aspects that I want to bring into the live, like the individual live programming and stuff. So there's a few things that are cooking that where it's all about making us more accessible, bigger audiences, making things look better, and kind of continuing to grow. But that's going to be 2021. But as everything goes, we just kind of roll with the punches. You just goals in mind. Yes. And just go with it. But it's it's funny that you say that, because we thought we were getting to this point. We're going up, we're going to this point. We got to this point or whatever. And it's like when you're hiking and all of a sudden you look around the corner and you're like, oh my gosh, the mountain still goes up that far. You have no idea. So we just passed that spot. And it was actually like everything's clear, like, wait a minute. Ooh, we can do all these cool things. Let's do that. You know what I mean? But of course, it takes time and money to do all these things that we would. I mean, if I just had piles of money on me, man, I'd just go absolutely crazy, and everyone would love it because it's going to be all outward pushing. But anyways, 2021 will be very interesting. We're going to work on some fun things and again, just to help out the audience and the creators. That's all it's about. But we want to make it better and better and better and better and better.
Well, I just want to touch a little bit deeper on one more thing, and then I'm going to go ahead and let you go after that because, we're not going to eat up the entire day. But when you're talking about the live streaming events, because obviously that's a big focus for you, and I think it's a wonderful thing to be able to share these events and share them with the world and give people access to them that, maybe for whatever reason they can't get out and actually experience it. What would be an extra consideration that you have to deal with or that people should consider when they're looking to broadcast an event versus just uploading like an episode or something like that? Because we are talking live. What are things that they really need to consider in advance to make those events successful based on what you know so far?
Yeah. And I'll backtrack and say it's a focus because our primary focus is the independent creators.
Right.
That's number one.
Right.
The secondary is the events. And but the thing is, when it's you really, when it comes to those type of events, you really have to get imaginative because you can't have a bunch of people in the same room, but you have to continually, things have to flow. There is no editing, there is no backing out, and you can't have like big gaps, I mean, if you're going to be using a stage and you're still going to have people live on that stage, well, you need a second stage because that person's going to end, and then you immediately have to have a camera and everything go on to the second stage because people are going to stick around. So you have to just think about it, you have to really put yourself in that position of the audience. And then that's where you start reverse engineering. Okay, I want it to look this way then. Okay, so now I got to reverse engineer of logistics, how that's all going to work. And then that's where it starts breaking down. It's much, much, much more manageable at that point. Because again, you were talking about tools and stuff available, and there's so many good tools that you can utilize, especially for live streaming. You can pull in streams from multiple places. It could be phones, it could be all these different kinds of cameras, it's all those things. You can bring them into one place and then just start spitting it out the way you want it to look. So there's those tools. So it's really just about getting imaginative about, okay, I want the audience to see this, so therefore I'm going to have to do this, 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 and this. Now, we also push people to do the simulated live. So that's where, because if you're doing especially remote interviews and stuff, those kind of things, there's so much lack of control that you have when you're having someone's, and you'll see with the Orange County, you'll see the Day in Space. We'll be releasing that in segments here, next few weeks. But then you'll see that Orange County Book Festival is that they have to, there's no producer, there's no director there, in front of them. So you literally have to lay it out for them. Okay, make sure your camera's pointing this way. Make sure you got lighting. Make sure your mic is close to you, and then they're going to do their thing and then send it to you. And you hope that they did it right? Because then you're like, oh God, okay, we need to redo this. Okay, so then you just, so you got to take that in consideration then, and then the time factor. You're like, okay, so our lead time then is, so we want this out on this date. I need 2 weeks in editing. It means, you got to start planning. Chop. So, there is no shotgun approach to that kind of stuff.
Anyways. And when you're running with long events,
I think that's what they have to take into consideration. But the thing is, I think people that if they are doing events, they need to always think about virtual from here on out. Because, we'll get a vaccine and we'll all move past this. But I think we just got a slap in the face of how vulnerable and how, we're only skin deep, in this thing. It turns out we're just organisms. And we're vulnerable to certain things like a tiny little microscopic germ or a bacteria. So I think that people that are in that business, just go ahead and start making sure to plan it out that way. That way you have to pivot, but you don't have to pivot that much, and you're not ready for that, or be prepared. At least be prepared, I should say.
Yeah. Even if you're just, kind of tap dancing in front of a white wall or something while you're trying to figure it all out. Testing is great. All right. So now that you've assuaged my curiosity on that point, I'm going to go ahead and say to everybody watching, Aaron Heimes, E360tv, please go check it out. You can watch it not just online, but what are all the ways that you can watch E360tv? Where can you find it?
Okay. So in non-alphabetical order.
Yes.
Roku,
Mm-hmm.
Amazon Fire, Apple TV, iOS, so that's your phones and pads, Android TV and Android mobile, web,
Mm-hmm.
and then we also Kickstream. The live streams also go out to social media, so they also go to YouTube and Facebook.
Excellent. So there you go. You can find E360 TV in your pocket, on your laptop, on your smart TV. Anywhere you go, you can find E360 TV. So Aaron, thank you so much for sharing all that information with us. I think that we have a lot to watch for, to pardon the pun, on E360 TV. I think this is some really valuable information that's going to help creators who may have been interested, but maybe, weren't quite ready to make the jump. And I'm just so happy you came on to talk with me today. Thank you so much. And how much we appreciate you from No Strings Attached E-News also.
Well, I deeply appreciate you guys. And especially B, I'll put it, because she's always,
yes.
You guys have always been in the corner, fighting for us, which is great. And I really appreciate this.
Yeah.
Being able to sit down and talk about it. And, and I think that's because we're so much in the trenches all the time, just working on stuff that we never get a chance to just stop and say, hey, let's tell you about a little bit what we do. So I appreciate this immensely.
Yes, and likewise. All right, guys, you know what to do. Go find some E360 TV, whether you're a consumer or a creator. You are welcome. So
eat it up.
Yes. All right, we can go ahead and fade it out there. Come explore the No Strings Attached E-News online magazine. Our global array of authors inspire, delight, and educate with practical and entertaining articles. And with Focus On, we help producers of film, web series, and other video content attract a wider audience. Plus, your project can stream on Roku, Apple TV, Fire TV, and more with our media partners E360 TV and NETV. No Strings Attached E-News, focusing on human interest. Advertising available, nsaen.com.